Hi, I'm Lucas Johnson,
And I'm Catherine Oakes,
and this is 2 Cents and Nonsense,
a place where we give our 2 cents on mortgage trends and money habits.
and share hot takes on hot topics. All right, boom. Episode 1. Here we go. Catherine, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm pumped. I've got some caffeine in me.
I wonder if this is going to be like one of the... We ever watch a TV show and like the first 3 or 4 episodes are real cringe compared to the rest of the show where it hits its stride like season 3?
Yeah, and when you come back for like episode 2, it may or may not be the same actors that actually acted in episode 1.
Yeah.
Pilot version.
It'll be very interesting, like if we do this for a couple years, to go back and then see how it was.
Yeah. Jeffrey refuses to watch the first few episodes of almost any television show. He'll watch like a competition show, but he just can't handle the cringe of like a drama or a mystery or like a comedy of like the pilot episode. He avoids it at all costs.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that.
No, I think I always watch them. To be a true fan, you have to watch all the episodes in order from day one.
I always watch to the end, hit the last episode, then feel like, oh no, there's no more left.
That's just
feel
being
the nostalgia,
a lazy fan.
and then just go back.
Lazy fan.
No, it's just consuming what's good at the beginning. So, but anyways, before we got into it, I wanted to see, did you do anything fun over like the weekend and last week?
I did. I traveled to Georgia for a family wedding. It was really fun because it was a smaller amount of guests that I'm used to at like kind of East Tennessee weddings, and that just made it more fun.
So with weddings, was it a really long one or a pretty short wedding?
It was a full Catholic mass wedding.
Okay. So how long?
So it was long enough to sit, stand, kneel, sit, stand, kneel.
That's funny. I remember our wedding was pretty long in the ceremony, but then it got real fun when we had the party.
Yeah,
so I can't believe it's been 8 years.
This followed that pattern. It was a really, really fun reception. I got to dance with my nephews, and they're adorable.
Love it, love it. Last week, we got to go see me and Kara went to go see the new Ant-Man movie. And here's my beef.
Okay, I'm really nervous about what you're about to say.
Well, I know that it's like sacrilege to say anything negative about the Marvel movies.
No, not that.
General.
It's just I was so burned by Doctor Strange, and I have my feelings permanently hurt by Marvel that I am immediately going into this movie with distrust and trauma.
I wouldn't.
Let's
because
be real.
Number one, it's still like I thought, as the young people would say, I think it was mid. Because Paul Rudd is so likable.
You have to explain that to me.
Middle of the pack, so like 5 out of 10. It was like meh kind of movie, and I think the critics felt the same way because Paul Rudd is super likable and like tries to save the movie. But the problem that I'm having with the Marvel situation, and I loved Endgame and all of that, and the fact that they're coming out with these superheroes that I don't really care about makes it hard for me to watch them. But the issue is that they've brought in the multiverse. And so in this movie, like they shrink down into like subatomic tiny land. And then there's a bunch of people that are in this land. And then there's a blue guy who's basically like Blue Hitler and wants to conquer everything. And they have to save little land because this guy's trying to escape. So he dominated and conquered the small land or small world. And then he's going to travel to the multiverse and try to conquer all of the other ones as well. Not a problem with it, except for the fact that because there's no stakes, and there's an infinite amount, because I'm thinking about this, if there's an infinite amount of me in an infinite amount of universes doing an infinite amount of things, if people die...
Infinite amount of movies.
Well, yeah, but I don't care, like, when people die. Because, like, if they die, it's like, who cares? There's no stakes to it. So, like, if I watch Iron Man or Spider-Man, like, a lot of times they're saving people on Earth in a reality that I care about. But if they're like, they're going to save an infinite amount of things. So that stuff makes it to where I'm starting to root for, like, the bad guy. And I really like a good bad guy, like Thanos. But this blue guy, he's doing that fatal flaw where, like, there's 10 times...
Don't spoil anything.
I'm not, but there's 10 times throughout the movie where I'm like, oh, well, you just should have killed everyone right there. And it's like, stop talking about your plan.
It's really hard when you're watching a movie and you can see, like, pivotal points in the movie where you're like, oh, the movie could have ended right here. It could have ended right here. Like, Superman versus Batman. They could have just shared their moms' names with each other, and then you wouldn't even have a whole movie. Because that was the ultimate resolution.
I still don't understand.
That was a spoiler.
That was terrible. But I'm watching it, and I'm, like, leaning over to Karen. I'm like, if I was him, I would kill her right here. I would kill him. And just like, and he has infinite power.
That should scare
he's already gotten what he wants, so he can go conquer. Why does he need you? But he's like, all right, guards, I'm going to walk away while you take them. There's no way you're going to escape.
The only time I ever saw the multiverse done well was in Doctor Who, and I don't know that you watched it all the way through to this point.
I didn't watch any Doctor Who.
They were able to take a ending that would have been otherwise tragic and they brought in the concept of the multiverse to provide an important character with a happy ending.
Okay.
And that was like, oh, this is the best way to do it. And then I really don't think, I could be wrong, I'm not fully current on Doctor Who, but I don't think the multiverse was consistently a component beyond that, because they made it such a exceptional thing that we would only do in a grand exception.
And now it's everything.
Yeah, it wasn't constant.
It's like, oh, we have a problem? Multiverse.
Yeah.
This doesn't add up. There's no way to win. Multiverse.
I think it's like the soap opera dynamic. And I think the superhero movies have gone into soap opera status where it's like, oh, we're like 23 seasons in.
And they can't let it go.
And the characters are just so loved by like the masses that
people go watch it every time. Like I mean, I watched it and I was kind of on the last Marvel one.
Yeah, but it's like we have no choice now but to be overly dramatic. It reminds me of Grey's Anatomy, where it's like, oh, we have to kill off our whole cast now
in order to go forward,
create interesting stories.
And then at the end, when the ants come and save the day, it felt like A Bug's Life, where the ants feel like they can take the grasshoppers and then they come.
It make you feel nostalgic.
A little bit.
That was a good movie.
It was another Disney classic. Anyways, so we wanted to get to that. So I wanted to give you my opinion on that. But let's go ahead and get into our 2 cents. And with our first episode, we're going to start small.
That's right. All right. So here's our 2 cents question. Luke, what is the smallest, most atomic change, and that would be like the smallest little habit, you have ever made to your money that gave you the best return?
I think I read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. I think George Clason, George Clason, wrote it. And the first thing he talks about is paying himself first. And I know it sounds like such a simple principle, but if you don't put it into action and start and actually do the steps of, okay, I've gotten paid, so I'm going to separate out a portion of my money before I pay any of the bills, any of like, you know, the fun stuff that I want to buy. I'm going to go ahead and set that apart into an account. And I picked a brokerage account through M1 Finance and kind of automated it, which was great. So every day,
because you wanted to put it somewhere it would grow.
Yeah, well, it grows, so I do the S&P 500, but I also have automated it to the point where I don't have to think about it. And I think that if you're wanting to have compound interest work on your behalf and make good changes, it's important to do it consistently over time, because most people are not going to like, okay, I invested $10,000 into Dogecoin and then it went to the moon and now I'm a millionaire. It's actually going to be just the consistent
If you are one of those people, we would welcome you on our podcast.
Yeah, now that it's back down to where it was. But that 2020, when I saw my friends, like, because I was doing the simple step thing, and then I saw a couple of them hit like big on some of this, it was very enticing. But then they now have held on to the point where they've gone back down again. So that quick money can be hard.
I almost never trust the shiny thing. That's probably like something
smart.
Deep in me that's
very smart.
It's a mixture of smart and broken, but you know.
A little bit. But yeah, doing that simple, consistent thing over and over again has allowed, because now I'm like 5 years in and I'm like, oh wow, I would have given all of this money to Target or any of these different.
Watch your mouth.
My wife would have spent it at Target or Bed Bath & Beyond or
I got
whatever.
your back, Karen. I got your back.
Yeah. If not, and now we have this account that has this money in it, and I'm just super thankful for it, especially when we hit the run up on stocks. So I would say that. But what has it been for you?
So I have 2.
Okay.
Can I have 2? I'm going to have 2. We're making up the rules as we go. I have 2.
Okay.
And the first would be, and this is not something that people can do with an incredible amount of intention, I guess, but the smallest thing would be joining bank accounts with my husband.
Uh-huh.
So if anybody out there hasn't joined bank accounts with their spouse, I actually recommend it as a money strategy, because being accountable to that level, like being accountable to somebody else is way.
Is it so you can't hide your spending, or what is it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like when I was single and I would try to have these great money habits. If I didn't do it, who cared? I would be the only one who cared. I would be the only one who saw it. So I don't do a great job of just being accountable to myself when it comes to money. Other areas I'm better at it, not so much money. So being accountable to somebody else, and it's fair to say I love Jeffrey more than I love myself.
Yeah.
And so I care more about managing my money better.
Because of him rather than
because of him.
The consequences affect 2 people. No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
Yeah. I couldn't be as lazy or as passive or as accidental about my finances. I had to be more intentional.
Well, I think that helps in all areas. Like me and my brother, when we try to keep each other accountable to go work out, And if he's going to get up at 6 in the morning and go, and I don't go,
Yeah, you're not going to be the loser in that situation.
No,
yeah.
I'm going to go. Whereas if I know he's not, then I'm like, maybe I'll get up, maybe I won't.
Yeah, exactly. The second thing, and I guess this is kind of goes hand in hand because it's something Jeffrey and I do together, but we read Profit First by Mike Michalowicz.
Good book.
And we can link both of these books that we've mentioned in the show notes. But we read that book and we implemented what it said, and its concept is simple. Execution isn't complex. It's just that you can execute it in a personalized way. So I don't want to get too detailed in explaining it, but simply it's like the envelope system of budgeting in different categories, but it's doing that in a digital sense by just having different bank accounts for different categories of your spending. And that's where the personalization comes in, like whatever categories are most prominent for you or perhaps most of a struggle to you. Those are the categories you divide into. Like you probably, if you don't already have one, need a bank account just designated to Target.
Yeah, I'd rather not do that. It's so funny. I would.
Told you, Kara, I got your back.
Money. I would spend zero money on decorations, but now we have a decor budget.
There you go. We
need to decorate for all 5 seasons. And
well, and that's what's
Christmas
cool. Christmas
is different than winter.
It really is.
And like, no, it's not.
But like you can pick what matters to you. And Jeffrey and I've only been doing it for like a year and a half. But it's been a dramatic change because probably one of my harder things in dealing with money when everything was in one account was feeling really guilty and also not having a clear enough picture of my finances that when I would go to buy the coffee, in your mind, you're like, well, I have all the necessary money to buy this coffee, but if I buy the coffee, can I not buy the groceries later on? And like, how do you manage your whole paycheck in such a responsible way where you don't accidentally burn yourself later in the month or closer to when the next paycheck is coming? So this is just like a more guiltless way because
and you're not having to do the guesswork.
I have a bank account that's designated towards my groceries, and then I have a bank account that's designated for me to just splurge however I want. And so when I put money into that splurge account, there's no guilt in it.
Oh, true. Same with vacations. Like a lot of times people do like vacations on their credit card. I know growing up, that was like parents would do that, and then they would pay it off on like a no interest credit card.
Who's vacationing on cash? That's crazy.
But now we do it, and they're like, oh, it's already in there. I don't even like think about it, and it doesn't affect all the other stuff. So I definitely think like doing the smaller plate system, which I guess the principles are real old as far as it goes.
Well, they are, and it's very compatible with the Dave Ramsey strategies. I think Mike and Dave disagree on some specific things, but it's the same concept of if you view your money as one whole chunk, you're accidentally misleading yourself.
No, that's definitely true.
And you'll lead yourself towards bad money decisions. But if you just go ahead and discipline yourself to view it in smaller portions, then you'll eat smaller portions.
So portion it out and pay yourself first would be the two.
That's the summary of both of these things.
And join your bank account with your husband.
Yeah.
Those are three.
I would also say if you are a person who can magically hold your own self accountable super successfully, I also welcome you on this podcast.
There you go.
I'd like to pick your brain.
Well, now let's go ahead and switch up gears and talk about some nonsense. We have a question I think you submitted, so I'm going to go ahead and read that. So, which is superior, the talent that it takes to play a sport or the talent that it takes to play an instrument?
I know you're going to have some immediate reaction to this, so you go first.
I'm not like a super fan of the question because I'm not really understanding it, because if you can look at it a couple different ways.
Words are hard, Luke. Words are hard.
Well, are you saying what's harder to play an instrument or play a sport, or are you saying from a market perspective, which talent is superior as far as what do people care about more? No. Musical talent or like physical sport talent?
You're getting like 4 questions out of 1 question.
Oh, that's why I didn't understand which way you were going with it.
I would say it like this. Which requires more talent?
But talent is also something that you're born with or given. It's not... So, like, which one is harder?
I don't understand being given talent. I understand being born with it. What do you mean?
LeBron James is 6'9". I can't work hard to become 6'9".
You tried.
Some people have perfect pitch. That Charlie Puth guy that does, I think is his name, I see you. Perfect pitch and could make a song.
Can you do that one more time for us?
I can't. I don't do singing, but perfect pitch. So my thing is like some people are just born with ridiculous talent. So is the question like what's harder to learn for the average person?
Let's try to answer it that way.
Okay, if
and
I
then
was
we'll see what we unfold.
okay, well, I'd say instrument would be, and that's because I have pretty good hand-eye coordination, so sports was easier. I was the guy that they would put in the back and give a triangle when we were trying to learn instruments back in the day.
That's insulting to people who really feel called to being a person who plays the
Oh yeah,
triangle.
percussion is where they hide you, because then you just bang gongs and hit the little triangle where my brother's playing
Can you
saxophone.
hide in percussion? That's
Not
a
if you're
really
doing like the
important part
xylophone
of
thing.
band.
It is, but not if you're just like the sound effects ad lib guy. You're not the
Poor
actual
band
one
director,
doing
like,
the
why
drum.
are we so offbeat here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Lucas. You hit him with a triangle,
I
and
gave
now
up.
he's ruining everything.
I gave up, whereas Quinn was like super talented at it. But I feel like it's much harder because you have to learn how to read music, be able to hear it, be able to have a rhythm, be able to do it. Which in some of those things, like you got to have rhythm when you're playing sports. But I don't think it's as challenging. You don't have to learn as many different things than in sports where it's just like practice and eventually.
So I think if we're answering it according to which is harder to learn from just an average Joe perspective, I don't know. I would have said like which requires more talent. I think I would lean towards learning an instrument. But if we're talking an average Joe learning either of these, I'm tempted to say sports because of the physical discipline it would require to even just get your body or your athleticism to the point where you can even learn it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, I could see that. If you're not somebody who's super coordinated or acclimated, it'd make it challenging.
Yeah, I mean, like learning an instrument does require a ton of discipline. And so you have to, I guess, work the muscles of discipline to prepare to learn an instrument. But from a sports perspective, like, I guess unless you're a linebacker, you can't have too much on you to learn the sport. And so you have to get down to a fit level with muscle mass and lower fat levels before you can even really learn the sport, right?
Yeah, and I think it would depend too, because hockey you have to do like skating on top of like puck handling and stick handling, and then so you're basically there's like 3 sports in one right there, having to learn
Right.
different facets and do them at the same time. But then you see people that are like, I mean, on drums you got to know how to do. You have to separate every single limb, and I don't know how people do that. It's crazy.
Yeah, or like a guy on a unicycle, like playing a recorder.
But
That's 2 talents.
But if
dude.
the question is what talent do more people appreciate? I thought about this and I went, if you think about it, I think LeBron James is more famous than Justin Bieber is. So, and his athletic talent has been more, or Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi are more well known than like the most famous artist in the world.
Yeah, but I feel like being well known is maybe not a representation of people appreciating it or not.
Is it because Ronaldo's so good looking? Is that why you think that people know him?
Yeah, people can appreciate multiple things about somebody, and the world can perceive it as you appreciate that talent versus we appreciate like the talent, the looks, or maybe even just the personality.
I could see that. Or if
know?
you think about it from a historical perspective, you think about, I mean, I know who Mozart is and I know who Beethoven is. I have no idea who old-timey sports figures are. Like, who was the greatest guy in that day in sports?
Yeah.
I guess their
That's
sports
sad for professional sports people. Like,
it is. No one remembers you. Unless you think back in the day sports was war. And then I know who Alexander the Great is and Genghis Khan. So
that's a
something to think
wow.
about.
Sports was war.
Well, unless, yeah, because I don't think I know any old.
What does that
sports
say
except for
about
Jesse
us
Owens.
in a modern day age?
I'm glad
that
we're not
we
back
have
then.
so much capacity for sports versus that was
I think it's dying
not
off,
true.
though. I think it's dying off now.
What do you mean?
Because I think less people play sports now than they did back in the. Growing up, all I did was play sports, and I think most people kind of do the video game,
Do you think
online social media, podcasting thing rather than they do sports like they used to.
Don't throw shade at
I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying
on
what
our
it is.
first
I'm
episode.
just saying that's what it is.
Like, do you think people are less likely to play sports right now because it feels like all or nothing? Like, if I wasn't born with all the inherent talent it would take to make me successful in the NFL, then why play middle school football?
I could see that. I think it gives you all of the same camaraderie because you're playing with your friends online that sports would give you without the challenge of like having to breathe hard.
That's sad.
And you could just
the challenge of having to breathe hard. Yeah, I can
and you can
identify
do it-
with that.
and
I
you
don't
can
like
do it-
breathing hard.
You can do it at any time. Whereas if you're playing sports, usually it's like
Daylight.
daylight. Yeah, and
Decent
it's like
weather.
nighttime. So, and you can do it for like, I mean, I used to do some LAN parties where you're going like late into the night and playing a bunch of games.
Do you play any instruments?
No, I can't play.
You never attempted anything after the triangle?
No, I was.
That wasn't
done.
your
They
jumping
wouldn't-
off
They
point?
wouldn't let me. They were like, "You're done." You're done. Go play.
You're done. Go play
basketball.
sports.
Go do something else.
Well, I think that answers our question that your band director was like, go play something easier.
Yeah. So, question though, do you play an instrument, or how many instruments do you play?
I play the piano. I've played that the longest. I think that's the only instrument I would claim as playing.
Mm-hmm.
I did spend some time learning the ukulele, and I nailed like 4 or 5 chords on that, and then I just moved on. But I will. So I went to the ukulele because my hands could manage it better than the neck of a guitar.
I could see that.
Because my brother played guitar insanely good, insanely quickly, and all the like years I was practicing and learning piano, he was doing that with guitar, and I was always really envious. For one, too, I thought that a guitar was more versatile. I don't know that that's really true, but
I would guess that it is. A lot of people do guitar.
Well, I didn't like being
piano,
limited.
like the two main ones.
I didn't like being limited to whether or not I had a piano or a piano was near me versus you can take a guitar with you. And so I was determined, like, I want to go with the more versatile instrument. But my hands just could not manage to nail those chords. So I went with the ukulele for a little while. And then I was like, that kind of defeats the purpose of versatile because you can't really, like, lead a solo with a ukulele. That's not true. I've actually seen people do that effectively. I just don't feel like I had that talent.
Well, that one Hawaiian guy, when he does Somewhere Over the Rainbow on the ukulele, that's a banger.
Right.
That's my favorite rendition of Over the Rainbow.
And then my brother wanted to teach me how to learn the bass. And so I did. I just didn't keep with that.
Does musical talent translate? Because my brother was like that too. He's like, oh, I'm playing drums now, and then I'm playing guitar, and I'm playing saxophone. Does it just translate where you know one, you can pick up the other one so much easier?
It should. I think in theory it does. That's why a lot of people will say learn the piano first, because you learn your notes, you learn your scales, you learn octaves, and then you can translate that to other places.
Okay.
Or other instruments, yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. So he taught me how to play bass. And do you know the Switchfoot song? And it's the name of the song's not even coming to mind right now, but it's the
We Were Meant to Live.
Yes.
So much more. Yeah, they played that at
You know
Christian
that
Youth Camp 100 times back in the day.
times.
In the 2000s.
That's the song
Those were
that
the jams.
John made me play 2,000 times to learn how to learn how to play the bass, because those are the bass notes. Da-na-na. Da-na-na. That's you're doing the electric guitar part. Yeah. So I'm not sure if he was determined to help me learn another instrument or if he just wanted backup.
Okay, that's smart.
Well, he played
you do like
his electric guitar.
older siblings kind of doing the puppet mastery to the
Yeah.
younger siblings, get them to do what they want. I'm an older brother. I get that 100%.
Yeah. As a young adult in the 90s and the 2000s, how often were you invited into a band, or was your lack of musical skills just known by your peers?
There wasn't a whole lot of demand for triangle players. And so
Talk about versatility, though. You can take that anywhere.
No, you can't. No one wants that. So, you know, like if you're in a circle, like at a fire and you're trying to impress a lady, you're whipping out a guitar and playing you're not whipping out a triangle being like, all right, girl, let's do this.
Kumbaya on the train.
No, not at all. So I was like, the sports is a much better route.
I definitely joined a 3-person band as a preteen girl and thought it meant something. It definitely did.
How far did you go? Did you play any gigs? Did you get any gigs?
Yeah, straight up in the living room to mom and dad.
Those are some sick gigs. I'm sure it was
We
a
got a lot of
standing
applause.
ovation.
Yeah.
They're not going to hate on their little girl.
I played piano, my sister sang, and a friend played guitar. We were well-rounded, to be honest.
Any Christian parents, I feel like that's what they do. They make all their kids become worship leaders.
They didn't make us. We just did that organically. I don't know what that was in us.
So you think, but that was all planned.
Hey, my dad is not particularly musical. I think he played guitar once upon a time, but has completely lost it.
Really?
My mom is a versatile music person, where she learned piano her whole life, hasn't really kept up with it, but could play it because she's kept the ability to like read music and she knows the notes on the piano. And she's a great singer too. So,
well, cool.
Yep.
Well, I think that wraps it up. Episode 1 wasn't too
we
painful.
Truly decided which takes more talent, so we'll just let you, the listener,
I would
decide.
say no. It's instruments take more talent unless you're playing golf or baseball, because golf is the hardest thing to do in the world, and you'll be hit like 4 good shots and then you'll hit a bad shot, and you just can't Like the mental fortitude that you have to be able to do to go out consistently after you suck at golf, to continue to do it until you're good, impossible. Between that and then hitting a baseball where if you get 3 out of 10 hits, so you fail, basically 30% of the time you're successful, that gets you into the Hall of Fame. Like that, I feel like those two things are the hardest. Other than that,
I can agree with you that golf is incredibly hard for totally different reasons. I'm like, the determination it must take to play what I consider to be the most boring sport.
Oh, it's so not boring. It's so pretty.
Okay. I do have before we wrap this up, I have a last question.
Okay.
But there's only one right answer to the question.
Okay.
So check yourself before you answer. Uh-huh. Is dance a sport?
Like competitive dance?
I'm just going to remind you of the recent controversy around ETSU Sports Awards.
I know 0% of this controversy.
Really?
But I would say if it's competitive dance.
I only know 40% of the controversy. But what happened was ETSU either gave out like awards or scholarships or something like that, but they recognized at a sporting event they recognized their student athletes for having a certain GPA.
Okay.
And they excluded the dance and cheer teams.
I would say dance competitive. If you're competing against, so this is the thing. If you're doing competitive cheerleading and dance where you're competing against other squads, I would say yes, because there's a level of competition. If you're just cheering and doing routines on the sidelines, then I would say it's not a sport at that point, because there's no winner. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a winner.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in 2023 you're not supposed to be, but I feel like there should be a winner if there's some kind of sports competition, and I think that's what drives it. So that would be it. It would be the caveat of, are you competing against other squads? Are you bringing it on?
You're saying that, but there's also individual dancers who go to competitions to compete against other individual dancers. So I think you would count.
But again, that's competing. But if Chris Brown gets up on and does like his rendition of Michael Jackson for a show, I'd be like, that's not a sport. That's entertainment. But it's not a sport.
Sure.
Yeah. So that would be the answer.
All right.
All right, so let's wrap this up. That wasn't too much of a train wreck.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you want to weigh in on any of today's topics, find us on social media at Johnson Lending Team MN. That's team with 3 M's.
Or if you're ready to make a move, you can visit my website to fill out a mortgage application at www.movement.com/lucas.johnson.
If you've enjoyed or endured listening to us today, please leave us a review on whatever platform you use to stream.
For what it's worth, that was our 2 cents and nonsense.